Okay. So, sir, like first of all, I will tell my background, then you will tell your background, so that I will be able to understand for what purpose you want to learn, right? Even Saurabh told me that you have an experience of around 20 years or 18 years, and you are working as a project manager in one of the IT industry. So let's start with me. So even I have the experience of 17 or 18 years, and I'm working as a project architect in one of the multinational organization. All
Okay.
right. And I'm working as a corporate trainer and the technology specialist. So this is my new initiative that's which I'm taking a training online through Zoom. All right. So like my expertise are in Microsoft technologies. I'm the certified partner from Microsoft. And starting from my technologies is like starting from the OOPS, object-oriented programming, C Sharp, Advanced C Sharp, ASP.NET, MVC, then Angular 2.8 versions, microservices, Kubernetes, .NET Core. So whatever the latest technology I'm will working on, and it's going very good. So this is my little background, and you will definitely learn lots of new things from my training.
That's
So
great. Yeah.
so before starting my training, I will tell you if you like if you like my demo, and there would be certain rules if you registered through this training. There would be a certain rules from my training which I'm following with the other candidates.
Okay.
First, first of all, I'm not allowed my training through the mobile, because if you're doing from the mobile, you are only seeing that. You will not able to do the practice.
Correct.
So you have to do the practice with me in the live training, so that you will be able to take 100% from the session. All
True.
right.
Makes sense.
So if you see my mobile and then say you say I will do later on, no, I will not allow. I will just stop the session. I will not take the session on. That's up to you. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the second thing would be the web feedback. So which is I'm taking from every session after the every session.
Okay.
So feedback like if out of five you are giving four, that means you're not happy with the trainer, and the
Okay.
content which I have delivered to you, it's not relevant for you. It is this is a You have the productive time for 1 hour. You are giving the 1 hour for me, and I'm giving the 1 hour for me. That would be a very productive hour for us. All
Correct.
right.
Yeah.
So, and if you're giving feedback from 4.5 out of 4.5 out of 5, that means you are still not very convinced with the trainer, but still you have taken 50 to 60% from the session, right?
Okay.
But if you're giving 4.8 or 5 out of 5, that means you are happy with the trainer, and the content which I delivered to you, you are taking 90% from the session, right? So in the when you come for the next day for from my training, when you come for the next day, I will ask your questions what we have learned from the previous session,
Okay.
so that we have the revision from the previous session. Let's say you forget something, that's okay. I will not say anything. Will I will tell you again, unless until you will not able to learn it. All
Okay.
right. So I will tell you 110 times. You Because this is your time, this is your session. Take the advantage of all the things, whatever the queries in your mind, and I will try to give the answer for all the queries. All right. And it would be I will make a very interactive session. So I will ask the question in between the session. Don't mind it, all right? Because I will not be aware that you are intending very seriously or listen not, so that I will be aware that. So
Correct.
all right. So if I will ask the question, if you don't know, that's okay. Simply say sorry, I don't know. That's okay. That doesn't harm,
Correct.
because you want to learn. That's why we are here, and that even I can learn from you if you know something. All right. Now, coming to this is my background. So, can you tell me your small background?
Yeah, sure. So sort of, see, basically, I also have 17 plus years experience in
Mm-hmm.
industry now. And I was quite technical earlier, but eventually, because of that growth and everything, like, I
Mm-hmm.
somehow landed up into pure project management past 5 to 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
now even that the industry trend is changing. People
Exactly.
don't want pure project managers,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
plus you start feeling monotonous and boring because you eventually it leads to that resourcing, pre-sales, and coordination, more of people management kinds. So I being I love technology, but now the gap has increased to such a great extent. I needed a place where I wanted to start.
Okay.
So I did try all these online trainings because see, there are a lot of material available on internet. So a lot of my
Mm-hmm.
friends recommended that why don't you just do it from Udemy and this and that. And I won't lie, I did try. But what happens is when you're doing it on your own, You do log in, you'll take credentials, everything. You'll do 1 or 2 sessions, but then eventually the moment you have a pressure at work, that's gone for a toss. So it never happens in continuity. So that's why when I spoke to Saurabh, I like the idea, like, that somebody from the industry themselves are coming and teaching out here, which is beneficial in two terms. One is, see, since I come from a technology background, a lot of looping and concepts, object oriented concepts, I would already know about. But then what is, like, that I would get a lot of information ready made, like,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to kind of read 10 pages and then come into the crux. So one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, that dedication. Now when I'm giving you time, I know that I have to remove the time because I'm blocking somebody else's calendar too, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so that is one thing, like, which keeps the zeal going, and that's why I've opted for Saturday Sunday, so that even I have leave and I have no excuses for not covering it up. So this is the first step that I've taken, like, so as Saurav already said, that I'm doing Python also with machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I'm kind of like, now I want to do Angular because Angular is the in thing. So basically what I plan to do is, like, eventually dheere dheere karke I want to get into the full stack category.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
great, great.
yeah, so two advantages of that, sort of, that I think of is, first is personal growth, because even if I want to play a role of an architect or techno manager also, I need to understand the concepts, right? One. And second thing, to be very true and frank, like, I really want to get into something of my own, like where I can bid projects and kind of, like, do work from home, like, because
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
because my
I
child
got it.
is, yeah, because my child is 6 years, the second one. So I want something now, like, that I earn myself that way, independence.
Exactly, I got your point. Even I'm doing the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because even I'm the project manager, I'm doing the bidding and all. So even I am very technical because I don't want to go into a managerial stuff because if there's no project at all, if there's no billing at all, they will throw out of the organization.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That is another threat, like,
yeah,
that they'll throw out. But leave the threat of that. But, like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
what are you adding to your profile is always a question that I have.
Th- Exactly. So that's why you should have a very good technical skills. If you are
Correct.
technical, nobody will touch you because even the value matters your knowledge. All right.
Correct.
So
Correct. Correct.
don't worry on that. Then you are on the right path, and you will get lots of thing apart from the Angular. So because when I teach it, when I even I'm not teaching the freshers, I'm honestly telling you because freshers are not serious. They say हमने इतना पैसा दे दिया यार जल्दी से कोर्स खत्म करो. Actually,
Ha.
I'm getting the like fast track courses. Sir, I want to do complete in 10 hours. Then I will say no. If you enroll for my training, you have to minimum attend for 30 hours. You
Correct.
do not
Correct.
have so that you paid something and you will you can learn from that. All
Yeah,
right.
exactly,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, like, matlab, see, if you don't want to
mhm,
learn really seriously,
mhm,
and mainly, like, why I went for the industry level trainers also, because I know, like, now I'll end up paying little extra because people do
mhm,
tell. But if you really see from my angle, 20,000, like, now I paid 20 or 15, 20,000, like, if you pay for knowledge
mhm,
which you're going
mhm,
to get industry level, like, how
mhm,
the deployments or how
mhm,
end to end the project looks like and all, it's
mhm.
worth it. Yeah, land up spending so much money, and this is kind of, like, not going to get wasted.
Exactly. And from this knowledge, definitely if you want to go for a project change, if you want to go for a industry change,
Exactly,
so
exactly.
it will very benefit and it will add on your money. All right.
Obviously,
So
obviously.
let's come to our Angular. So
Sure.
we understand both of you, we understand each other,
Yeah.
and now we start what exactly why we want to do. Only one question, last question from you. Like you when your experience was like 4 years, 5 years. So you're from the Java background or you are
No,
from the?
.NET.
That's great. That appreciated. So
Correct.
I'd actually just want to know that.
Hmm.
Okay, so first of all, I will show you the agenda, what we'll covering in this entire training, and then we'll start. So
Sure.
don't take this is a demo session. My demo session with the first session. All right,
Okay.
even if you're not joined, but you will be able to learn lots of new things from this session.
Sort of, just a question. Sorry. Like, no, I thought it would be a demo. It would end up in 1 hour.
Yeah, yeah, I will end it in 1 hour. Not an issue.
Perfect. Perfect. No, I need to go to office. That's right.
That's not an issue.
Okay.
So you can see the agenda. Say let's say we start. First of all, you should know why I want to learn Angular. What's the
Right.
benefit of using the Angular?
Correct.
If in the market we have the ASP.NET, we have the MVC,
Hmm.
then why Angular? why I want to learn Angular. So we'll start with the enterprise application. What's an enterprise application is, digitization, standards. Then I will show you the JavaScript evolution. When the industry has been started, they came up with the JavaScript and there's some evolution of the JavaScript. Then, of course, we'll learn something about the single page application. What's a single page application? Who developed the single page application? What are the first site has been developed in the single page application?
Okay.
All right. Then, what are the standards? Who created the HTML? Who created the CSS? Who created the JavaScript? Then, I will show you what is the difference between the MVC in Angular and what is the difference in Angular, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you are the .NET developer. You worked on the MVC, that called as model view controller, and that's
Mhm.
in separation of concerns. So even this MVC, it's in server side running. then
Mhm.
then why I need an Angular? I will give this answer. Then
Mhm.
we'll start with the TypeScript, to what exactly the TypeScript, because when you start Angular 8, then you need a TypeScript, because
Correct.
TypeScript is an open source and it's an object-oriented programming.
Okay.
All right. So we'll see now what's an Angular 8, what's an objective, version, history. Then I will show you some ecosystem of has been it is developed. Then what's new in Angular, what's in how to install. So
Okay.
once we understand, then I need your system to install. I will tell you how to install the Node.js, how to install the Visual Studio, and how to install the Angular CLI. I need
Mhm.
this three software to install it. Then
Okay.
we first of all we see the structure, folder structure description. We learn that how what is the folder description of Angular. Let's say if I'll say I open the Angular and I will say you just create the component, there's no benefit.
Mhm.
You should know about the folder structure of Angular. What is the
Correct.
folder structure? Then there was the execution cycle. Let's
Okay.
say in Angular, in .NET
Mhm.
and MVC, what is the entry point in MVC? Can you tell me what is the
So
entry
I
point?
don't have any experience of MVC
Okay,
because I
okay. Let's talk about the ASP.NET. What is the entry point of ASP.NET? That calls in global.axs,
yeah,
right?
global.asx and
AXS.
init function like which gets initialized in the background and all that.
Exactly. And if I will talk about the C sharp console application,
Main.
so main, that's an entry point of the application is main.
Yeah.
In a similar way, Angular has also the main. And
Okay.
in that main, we have an app.model.ts.
Mhm.
From there, it calls an app component. I will show you. So we
Okay.
should know about the this implementation, how execution works in Angular.
Yes, this
All
is
right.
very important. Yes.
There. Then after once we understand the folder description, once we understand the execution cycle, then we'll say yes, I know what's an Angular. I know the folder description. I know the execution cycle. Then I will start with the Angular components. We'll create a basic components by
Mhm.
manually. We create Angular. We have the Angular CLI. We'll create that Angular component by Angular CLI. We'll create the nested components and we'll create the nested inside the nested component so
Okay.
that you will be not you will not infer what exactly the component is.
Okay.
Everything is comprises of components in Angular, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Once we understand the components, then we have to bind the data.
Mhm.
Now we get the data. Now we have to bind whatever we write the business logic in TypeScript. We
Mhm.
want to bind into an HTML. So
Okay.
Angular provides two types of data binding. There's an single way data binding and the two way data binding. And the single way data binding, we have the string interpolation, we have the property binding, event binding, and the attribute binding, and we have the two way data binding which runs on ng model.
Hmm.
Once we understand this, we start with the component communication, which is using the input, output, and if we want to communicate from one component to another component, so we can use the input property and the output property. All right.
Okay.
So after that, we start with the directives.
Mhm.
If you don't know about the DOM, so DOM plays a very important role in Angular.
Okay.
Without DOM, you will not able to anything in Angular.
So
So
DOM is similar to that XML DOM that we have.
Exactly. That's in document object model.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
DOM can be you understand the term
I do. I
document
do.
document object model.
Yeah.
Either it would be the XML document,
Hmm.
either would be the Word document. If you talk about the complex document, then you can say it's an HTML document
Hmm.
because it's in tree-based structure. Like you remember that HTML
Got it.
and that HTML head tag and the body tag. Under
Correct.
the body tag, you have the another tree-based structure, the
Yes.
form tag, A tag, and the P tag.
Correct.
That is called an complex document object model. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Then we'll learn how to write the structural directive, how to write the component directive, and how to write the custom directive. We can build an own custom directive. So by using the host pending in the host listener,
Okay.
when you click on the mouse, then it performs something actions,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Then like in the ASP.NET,
Mm-hmm.
in the ASP.NET we have the page lifecycle, but we don't have any concept of the page lifecycle. Where we have the concept called a component lifecycle hooks, all right,
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
Angular.
Okay.
So
Because you have all components out here. Okay.
exactly. Now this is very important part which we have the services. What are the services Angular? Because Angular does not provide interact with the database because of the client side. So we need to learn web API, or we need to learn the core web API in
Okay.
.NET Core. So
Okay.
I will show you one that calls an API called JSON, and
Mm-hmm.
will interact with the services. Will also showcase you the solid principles. If you don't know, then I will
Okay.
tell you what exactly the solid principle is and what is the dependency injection. So
Okay.
whole Angular is based on the dependency injection. If your dependency injection is clear, concept is not clear,
Mm-hmm.
first of all we'll understand the dependency injection, what is the dependency injection, and what how we can how
Okay.
we can achieve the dependency injection. Then
Mm-hmm.
of course the HTTP client, which is using the HTTP verbs like get, delete, post, and
Uh-huh.
put, which basically interact with the Angular. Right. After that, we'll learn the Angular forms. If you want to submit the request, if you want to log in the form, want to registration the form, then Angular provide two ways of forms, that calls in template driven form and the reactive driven form. All right. And the most important thing that calls in routing. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to navigate from one component to another component, we
Mm-hmm.
will use the routes.
Okay.
This till we covered with the basic and the intermediate level of Angular.
Angular.
Now, now we'll also learn the custom middleware.
Okay.
Now we'll learn the custom middleware for error logging, for token authentication, that will build the HTTP interceptors.
Okay.
Right? We have the one project. You have to do the project. In that project, we will build the HTTP interceptor. We will build the auth guards.
Oh,
Also,
wow.
we also see the look how to put the local storage and the session storage, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, we'll do some the introduction of the RxJS.
Okay.
So also like in Angular JS, we have the filters, but we don't have any filters in Angular. We call as in pipes in Angular. So we create built-in pipes, and we also create some custom pipes, right? And then I will tell you the production deployment. So how to do the production deployment by using the ng build by
Mm-hmm.
hyphen prod, and if you get the prod files, so you have to put this folder and you
Okay.
can build it into a
Okay.
Docker or in somewhere.
So
So,
the installation part of it.
all right, the installation part.
Okay.
So, my some of the candidates, because when I doing the training, there are some of the candidates on demand, sir. I need some bootstrap understanding. We don't understand the bootstrap and all.
Okay.
So on the candidate demands, I put some quotes on the bootstrap,
Oh,
so that
wow.
so I will also try to tell you how to use the bootstrap, so that you
Okay.
can make your application provide a provide a better look and feel,
Oh,
right?
nice, nice.
So
Yeah.
now we'll come to the training. So we'll start with the first topic that calls in. So my training, it doesn't depend on the PPT, only for the first session, which I'm using. Even I'm not using the PPT because I don't believe on the PPTs and all. So
Okay.
will give you on the material. I will give you once the session would be over, I will provide all my material. Even you don't have to search on the internet. So
Okay.
I have lots of material. Whatever I will do, whatever I will say, and if you get in time on the weekends and all, if you do only what I will say, then you will be perfect in Angular. That's my
Perfect.
experience.
Perfect.
Right.
Sir, just one question, like,
Mhm.
very basic one. See, this is Angular 8, but there are a lot of versions, like, that keep cropping when I see in resumes.
Exactly. I
Angular
will tell you.
2.0 and all this. What is the
I will
difference
tell you.
between that?
I will tell you. I will tell you now. So if you want an answer right now, so I will give you right now. So first of all, because I want to start with the enterprise application, give me a second. So we'll give you answer after 15 minutes, right? So first of all,
Okay.
okay, we'll give you answer after 15 minutes
No
because
problem.
I will give you because process in my mind. When we
Okay.
start, then we'll give this answer. So first of all, I want to start the first topic that calls an enterprise
Mhm.
application. Can you tell me what do you understand by the enterprise application?
So basically, when you say that you want to build something at enterprise level, it has to take care of all the possibilities that it works for a particular enterprise. For example, like just to give a very simple example, leave management. It's a very small system, but then you have to think enterprise level in terms of how scalable would it be, and what is the performance like if so many number of requests come in one go. Then what will be the effect on the system? So keeping all those design concepts into mind, you have to design something.
Exactly. So in simple words, I can say to take the system completely online
Yeah.
from end to end prospectively.
Mm-hmm.
That is called an enterprise application. If you talk about the word enterprise, it's of business.
Correct.
It's of business.
Mm-hmm.
So when you want to take the business completely online, if you're taking your business completely online, end to end prospectively, that is called an enterprise application. I will
Mm-hmm.
give a very good example.
Mm.
Yeah, you heard about the Amazon website.
Yes.
What you're doing that you have the login, you go
Mm.
to that site, you put if you want to buy a Samsung mobile, so
Mm.
you search that some Samsung mobiles, right? You select that mobile, the mobile go to the cart, right?
Correct.
You select that card, you do
Yeah.
the payment online, all right?
Yeah. Mm.
And you put the address, whether it's your home address or the office address, and the product get delivered to you at your whatever the address you have put it, all right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
what you have done, you make the business you make the business online from end to end, from starting to the end. You done your
Correct.
business online,
Correct.
whether it's in sure, whether it's in selecting the card, whether it's in select the products, whatever you have done, you done your basically done your business online.
Okay.
So you can see to make the business online, and I will completely take your business online from end to end prospectively. So if you see the slide, uh, because this is relevant for you, because your experience, if you understand the slide,
Mm-hmm.
then you will not having the problem on the enterprise application.
Mm-hmm.
Even I will tell you in the demo, because the person are not getting this understand, but you have so much of experience and you will able to understand this.
Mm.
So like you have the 17 18 experience, when you have in the early age you have seen the servers.
Correct.
So basically when the industry has been started, so we pure IBM. So IBM mainframe, they provide the kind of solutions which basically everything is running on the server. We When the industry has been started, everything this IBM, they provide a mainframe kinds of solution where
Correct.
everything is running on the server.
Mm-hmm.
All right. After that, after some years, they started with the desktop, so that we seen the desktop, and basically we are working on that desktop. Then slowly and slowly, when the industry is growing, then we see the client server architecture. That is called a distributed application. When we have seen this client server architecture, we have seen the distributed
Correct.
application,
Correct.
right? This one.
Yeah.
So half of the things on the server
Correct.
client, and half of the things on the server.
Correct.
Then what happened is that client says,
Three tier. Correct.
why I want, why I want a business logic, why I would you make my application very hard to me. So
Correct.
they create a
Correct.
middleware, so half of the things would go to the middleware, and the
Yeah.
server remains on the server. That
Correct.
server means your database interaction, the
Hmm.
DB operations, and
Hmm.
yeah, I'm writing the mouse, so I'm not getting the
Oh,
spelling.
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
So basically, client says how of the things are on the middleware.
Hmm.
So I and the server depends on this.
Correct.
Then the industry started. Then the industry works on, and you definitely hear the term that calls an WCF,
Yeah.
calls an WCF services. Then what happened? Then there's client basically gives the middleware,
Hmm.
and server makes the service, so that service you can perform your service, and this service will interact to the server, right?
Okay.
So that what exactly the term of services, why I want to make the service, can you tell me?
Service so that you can use it multiple times for basically reusability.
Reusability, exactly. That means you are making the loosely coupled architectures.
Correct.
That means you created the one service and you can deploy in many projects,
Yeah.
right? Then the industry, then you can say our Jamana comes and industry comes out and they basically works on the mobile,
Yeah.
right? So
Correct.
they basically works on the mobile, and it uses all the middleware, and that this remains
Correct.
the same.
The
Now
layers remain the same.
layer remain the same. After that, now when the real comes in, so
No,
what are the
this
value
I don't know.
systems? So that is called
Oh,
a
okay.
smartwatch, right? Samsung, that calls as Samsung smartwatch, yeah,
Acha,
Armani
acha.
Armani
Okay.
smartwatch, and what they do, whatever the even you can see that I have the smartwatch, I've seen all the apps are there. Even my I can operate my mobile, I can
Okay. Yeah. Digitization is that only, like, that representing your data into various formats, like, applicable and supportable on all the platforms, like mobile, desktop, laptop, anywhere.
Anything else?
No, that's what I can think of right now.
Okay. So even I can say in a simple word, digitization, digital. That means paperless.
Okay.
I can say the paperless,
Okay.
right? That
Mm,
means I can make a system online.
mhm.
I can make the system,
Online.
right? I can make the system online.
Yeah.
So I will give a very good example for this. Let's say when you're a child and your
Mm,
father might be the businessman or he is doing the job. Let's
mm,
assume that he is doing the job, and when his salary gets get the end of the month, your father gets in check, and they go to the bank, they deposited that check,
mm.
and whatever they want, your father wants an amount, they will
Correct.
ask that we put that check and then give uh, give to that person,
Mm,
and they validate the person, account person will
mhm,
validate a person, and
mm.
he will give the amount to your father.
Yeah.
Now you can see the things are changed.
Mm.
Now the thing, how the things are changed. Our salary is get credited into a bank account.
Correct.
We get the credit cards, we get the debit cards,
Mm.
we have the ATM facility. Even like my mother went to the let's go to the bank and update the statements. Nowadays we don't need it.
Correct.
Nowadays we go to the bank sites, we upload that statement, we'll see that, and we'll get the printout and the
Yeah.
work get done.
Yeah. Everything is online. Yeah.
Everything is on. To make the system online,
Mm.
that means we are basically not using the any paper. That
Correct.
calls in paperless. To design the system online.
Mm.
That calls in digitization.
Okay.
Then we'll understand what exactly the standard is.
Mm-hmm.
Who created HTML? Who created JavaScript? Who created CSS?
Okay.
Tell me.
I don't remember.
That's then W3C. So W3C is W3C is the communication is the worldwide consortium firm which
Mm-hmm.
they created the HTML, they created the JavaScript, they created the CSS.
Okay.
All right. So this is the communication firms which we know about it. So now we'll start with the even I just come to your question also. So we'll start with the
Question
that calls
actually.
in first of all single page application.
I don't need to
Single
make a note of all these things, that you're writing in a notepad.
That's okay. So,
Yeah,
Okay,
you don't need Afsar, it will all be shared with you.
Okay.
right. And if you talk about the single page application, can you tell me what exactly the single page application?
Single page is like the entire logic is just residing on one page.
Exactly. The entire logic would be developed on the single page. So I can say single page application is a web application, or you can say it's a website that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current page rather than loading the new pages from the server again and again.
Correct.
I don't want to hit the server again and again. I
Correct.
will not hit the hit because this it will impact the performance.
Correct.
So I will rewrite on the current page. I will rewrite on the single page
Mm-hmm.
rather than loading the entire new page from the server again and again.
Correct.
Right? It works. So let's say there would be the 100 users who are accessing on the single page application. So it will create one single instance for that. All right. So
Okay.
let's say, can you tell me who developed the first single page application? If you remember anything,
No, I don't know
that's in
those.
Gmail. That's in Gmail.
Okay.
Right. So Gmail is the first that calls in Google. That's in Google is the company, and they developed the Gmail as in
Mm.
first single page application. Nowadays, you have the PayPal, Netflix,
Correct.
and then you can say Google Maps
Mm-hmm.
and Airbus, Airbnb bus. They all are designed on the single page application.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So from the single page application, obviously it can improve our performance.
Mm.
Why? Why? I don't want to hit on the database again and again.
Correct.
When I require, I will hit it.
Correct.
So only my JavaScript content can change. So you can see. So let's say my URL would be http localhost 4200, right,
Mm-hmm.
slash home.
Mm-hmm.
So understand very carefully now.
Yeah.
So you can see this is called the URL.
Yeah.
This is called the URL.
Mm.
This is called the URL, and this is called the routes
Yeah.
home.
Correct.
So you can see this remains same.
Mm.
Only slash home will change.
Correct.
The slash contact,
Mm.
slash help, slash
Mm-hmm.
employee. This
Yeah.
could be changed. All right. This is basically a single page application.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So every when you do the navigation, when
Mm.
you do the navigation, so it doesn't change this URL. Only it changes the slash home
Routes.
slash contact.
Correct.
Only the route
Correct.
is changed.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say I can design one this. Even you understand this one, but
Yeah. Just
I will
one.
tell.
Just 1 minute. Huh?
Mhm.
Yeah. Tell me.
Now you can see.
Yeah.
So I write the multiple page, right? ABC. So
Mm-hmm.
when you click, you can see only the this part. Sorry,
Yeah. Only the main page changes. The
only the
header.
this content it changes. Even
Content.
not
Sorry. The
the
header and
field
the rest of the things remain
remains
consistent.
same. Only the content is changes. If you click this, then only the content is changes.
Yes.
This is called a single page application.
Mm.
All right. Now you can see. I can show you. Now here, Gmail, Google Maps, Airbnb, Netflix, PayPal.
Correct.
That's all are the single page application.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I will tell you the architecture of the MVC now. All
Mm-hmm.
right, because the TypeScript when we start, then will tell you. Then after that, I will ask you one question.
Okay.
So you can see this is a traditional web application approach. You
Mm.
have the client, you have the server. All
Correct.
right, client sends a request to the server, and
Mm.
server sends a response to the client, and
Correct.
clients give to the user.
Correct.
Let's say client sends a request in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, XML, JSON, and the JPG.
Mm.
And when the server sends a respond,
Mm.
when a server sends a respond,
Mm.
can you tell me for that ASP.NET, what would be going to the client?
The HTML.
Huh?
The final product.
Yes.
The HTML final.
No, no. It will go. It will go whole page. Sorry, if sir,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
go,
Okay, in that
so
context, yeah,
it will
it'll
go whole
execute,
page.
it'll
It will
execute
go
the entire thing at the server
every
level, and then it'll give you the data.
exactly every time when you hit to
Yes,
the request, it will the client sends an HTML, CSS, JavaScript, XML, and the JPG,
correct,
and
correct,
server will respond as the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, XML, and the JPG.
correct,
Right,
correct.
you can see this one.
Yeah.
So here, when server sends a response, this one.
Yes.
Now, if we talk about the single page application,
Hmm.
now your question with I'm coming to answer for your question.
Hmm.
So now when you talk about the single page application,
Hmm.
and in a single page application, when client sends a request to the server,
Hmm.
and it goes to HTML, CSS, JavaScript, XML, and the JPG,
Hmm.
and server sends a response to the client.
Hmm.
So in this requirement, what would go to the client?
I see. I don't know too much of Angular, but then the way Ajax used to work, it just gives you the bare minimum, which has changed.
So it nothing with the Angular. It is nothing with the Ajax,
Hmm.
which I've told you. That's why I have asked you. All
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
So even single page application, what is important for the client? Can you tell me?
No server hits.
No data. For the client, important is data. Let's
Data.
say you have the ICICI Bank. Let's say your salary has been credited in your account, and what is important at that time? The important is to see the look and feel, or important to see the data,
No
whether
data.
whether my salary has been credited to into your account or not.
Correct. Data.
So in this single page application, when server sends and respond,
Hmm.
it will send an XML and JSON,
Oh.
right? So it
Okay.
will only send an XML and JSON.
Hmm.
Now, can you tell me? So even I've taken a lots of training.
Hmm.
Only the five and six guys have given the correct answer.
Okay.
Let's say you have the ASP.NET application
Uh huh.
and you have the 100 instances.
Uh huh.
Have 100
100 users connected. You mean to
100
say?
users are connected,
Uh
right?
huh.
At the
Uh huh.
same time.
Okay.
How many instances would be created?
100.
Right? 100. Great. And let's say if you talk about the ASP Angular application,
Mm-hmm.
100 users are connected at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
How many users are uh, how many users are there?
100 users are there, but there will be only one instance.
Exactly. You understand this point.
Yeah.
All right. So you will the sixth or seventh person in my training which I've given that. So I'm
Okay.
honestly telling you because all of them are saying 100 and 100
Mm-hmm.
because that's why I'm taking the time to understand this concept. All right.
Yeah.
So obviously Angular because it's based on single page application and it runs only it hit to the database one and on a single instance the whole application would be running.
Mm.
But in case of ASP.NET or MVC application, it's in server-side rendering.
Mm.
Every time the
Correct.
when client sends a request, server will also send some response in that case.
Correct.
So this is the reason. This is the reason I want to learn Angular.
Hmm.
This is the reason, one of the reason I want to learn Angular.
Okay.
So what exactly the Angular is?
Hmm.
Now listen very carefully.
Yeah.
Angular is a client-side framework.
Mm-hmm.
Angular is a client-side framework
Mm-hmm.
which allows to create reactive, responsive single-page application. Angular is a single-site Angular is a single-site application
Hmm.
which allows to create reactive, responsive
Mm-hmm.
single
Okay.
page application. Now
Hmm.
what I understand by this, I've said obviously Angular is a client side. It's a
Correct.
client side framework.
Hmm.
It's an open source. It's a freeware.
Hmm.
Open source means it's a freeware. It's
Correct.
a client side. They don't have any server side handling,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
allows to create which allows to create reactive responsive single page application.
Hmm.
That means one framework one framework which runs on mobile,
Hmm.
which runs on desktop, which
Correct.
runs on laptop, which runs on the tablet.
Correct.
That is called an Angular.
Correct.
This is the reason I want to learn Angular.
Correct. Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the market, They start. I'm coming to an answer. So when Google takes the initiative of using the Angular,
Mm-hmm.
and in the market in the 2009 or 2010,
Mm-hmm.
they came up with the Angular JS.
Okay.
They come with the Angular JS, and Angular JS is based on the JavaScript.
Correct.
Angular JS is based on the JavaScript, and it is based on the controller level.
Mm-hmm.
It is based on the controller level. Still, it's a single page application. That's okay. It's a single page application. It's a single page application, and
Mm-hmm.
you can say it's an open source. That's I agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
But it based on the JavaScript. It is based on the controller level. It
Mm-hmm.
uses a single page. It's an open source, but it does not support. It does not support object-oriented programming.
Oh,
Object-oriented
okay.
programming. That's why it's getting failed in the market,
Mm-hmm.
and no one is using. So only 1 year that when the Angular comes, there's a boom in the market. But when they have the lots of problem, that's why the Google came with the Angular 2. It is a whole rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
Angular Google came with the Angular 2, and this is a whole rewrite of Angular 1. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
Angular 2, and this a whole rewrite rewrite of the Angular 1,
Okay.
right? And listen very carefully now. It uses object-oriented programming.
Mm.
It uses object-oriented programming,
Mm.
which is called in TypeScript.
Mm.
It uses a TypeScript, which is an object-oriented programming,
Mm.
and this TypeScript is a product of Microsoft.
Okay.
It's a product of Microsoft.
Mm.
So Angular from Angular 2 to Angular 8,
Mm.
Angular 2 to Angular 8 is a combination of is in combination of
Mm-hmm.
combination of Google plus
Microsoft.
Microsoft. So, Microsoft. So
Okay.
so that this TypeScript is used by the Microsoft,
Mm.
and this Angular is used by the Google.
Okay.
Now you said that every 6 months
Mm.
they have the strategy for every 6 months they are coming with the new version. All
Mm.
right. So you don't have to concern as a developer point of view.
Mm.
I'm being certified by the Microsoft. I'm reading the articles. I get the booklets from the Microsoft and go to
Mm.
a workshop in the Hyderabad. So
Mm.
they say even they want to launch the Angular 10 in the last December, but still they are on the RC15 version. They are still on the way of, there are some getting production issues at the RC15, but
Mm.
still it is not live. Angular 9, all
Mm.
right, and the Angular 10 would be released in Angular in May.
Okay.
Might be they will skip out the Angular 9 and game up the Angular 9. So
Okay.
you don't have to worry
Mm.
on the developer point of view. Only they are changing at the framework level.
Correct.
They are changing at the framework level so that whatever you're using, it goes to a very good performance. Let's
Okay.
say you are the user, so you have the mobile. So when you put any website and you will not get an instant response, you get frustrated.
Mm.
What I will do, it is not working. I'm not you want to use it. So
Correct.
even I don't want to make that situation.
Mm.
All right. So that is a reason. That is a reason. So it's a whole rewrite because we have to use we have to use an object-oriented programming.
Mm.
And believe me, in 90% of the organization
Mm.
has shifted from Angular 8 or to whatever the version 7.6,
Mm.
and they started the .NET projects are migrated on
Mm.
the .NET Core,
Okay.
right? So .NET, if you're the manager level,
Mm.
and there some after 1 year or after 6 months, you have to learn the .NET Core, right? You have
Okay.
to know about the .NET Core concepts. Now,
Okay.
so what is the Angular? Now we'll talk about the what is Angular.
Mm.
Angular. I'm writing some points. It is very good points I have.
Mm-hmm.
So Angular is a JS framework.
Mm-hmm.
Angular is an JS framework,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which runs on dev server, which runs on dev server for production. For production, we can we have for production, we can move to IIS, or you can say Apache.
Okay.
That's an beauty. Means you can develop the Angular in Windows,
Hmm.
and you can run. You can develop the Angular in Visual Studio Code, and you can deploy your IIS, and you can deploy an Apache.
Correct.
But for the Angular runs on JS framework.
Hmm.
Framework.
Hmm.
So for what is a dev server? That is called what is a dev server here? So when you
Development
want
server.
development server, that is called in, we need to install in node.js.
Correct.
All
Okay.
right. So without node.js, the
Hmm.
Angular does not provide.
Okay.
Angular provides several packages
Hmm.
for developing the front end. Angular provides.
But
se-
would that mean that you need to have an understanding of Node as well?
So Node, let's say you are the .NET developer.
Hmm.
When you do the F5,
Hmm.
so what is the server is running behind? That calls a local host,
Correct.
right? In a similar way, when you want to do the ng serve,
Hmm.
that means when you want to run your application, you
Hmm.
written the code
Hmm.
and you want to see onto the browser,
Hmm.
right? For that running on the dev server development on the local, you have to install the node.js server. It is acting as a server, development server.
Hmm. Hmm.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
So
So
Angular,
you may not have an understanding of Node still, but only for the running and execution part of it, you
that's
need
okay.
that
That's
component.
okay. That's okay. So if you want, let's say we in the market we have the mean stack. I will tell you because of the short of time you don't have
Hmm.
the 3 o'clock. I will wind up the session otherwise.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then we call it full stack.
Correct.
Mean stack means M for Mongo,
Hmm.
E for Express,
Hmm.
then A for Angular,
Hmm.
A for Angular,
Hmm.
and you can say N for Node, right? So this is the package
Huh.
where you have to learn. But if you learn the Angular, that's okay. And if you want to become a .NET developer, you should know about the .NET. You
Hmm.
should know about the .NET Core,
Hmm.
and you should know about the Angular. You should know about the SQL Server.
Okay.
Then you become a full
Full
stack
stack.
developer.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. So I'm coming to this point.
Hmm.
Angular provides several packages for developing the front end, right?
Yeah.
So Angular uses the Angular 8. If I'll say Angular, that means I'm talking about the Angular 8.
8. Okay.
So Angular 8 internally uses the language. Tell me what is the language internally uses the language?
It's JavaScript, right?
It's TypeScript,
TypeScript. Okay.
right? TypeScript. We don't have any concept of the JavaScript in this.
JavaScript.
And TypeScript is the object-oriented programming language,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
And Angular does not provide database connectivity. Does not
Okay.
provide database connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Then how we can do that? Because it's in client side. Because
Yeah.
of the client side.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the client side. Because of the because of the client side. So this Angular does not provide a database connectivity. For interacting the database, you should create you should create the that calls an web API. You should create the web API, or
Mm-hmm.
you should create the core web API,
Okay.
right? Or you can create the Express API, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So basically now there's a some that calls an Angular basically provides in routing.
Mm-hmm.
Provides in routing. Routing means if you want to navigation
Navigation. Yeah.
from one component to another,
Hmm.
then you can give the routing to the Angular. Then Angular is basically meant for the lightweight UI, so that you can access by using the HTTP client. So I will tell you later on what exactly the HTTP client, how the Angular uses it. All right. This is basically the understanding of the Angular. And one more thing which I forget, which Angular basically runs on.
Mm-hmm.
Angular basically runs on runs on by default 4200 port.
Okay.
On 4200 port, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, and it is also called Angular is also called as mobile first approach. Mobile first approach.
Oh, is it?
Right?
Okay.
Yes. Now
Mm-hmm.
I'm just showing you some slides so that you will be aware what I've done.
Hmm.
All right. Where's my Angular? Give me a second. We'll complete the session in another 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So you can see this is a reason. One framework I want to use mobile and
Mobile
desktop.
and desktop. Okay.
Right? So I've told you Angular is a JavaScript framework which
Mm-hmm.
allows to create reactive, responsive,
Responsive
single
single
page,
page.
page application. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see Angular. This is the person, Misco Henry and the Adam Bombs is the person who created the Angular in 2009. It's an open source client-side framework that promotes a high productivity web development.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Angular, it's an open source JavaScript framework which build an application, and you can see
Mm-hmm.
it is also convinced as a mobile first approach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For your software installation, we need your Node.js,
Mm-hmm.
Visual Studio Code,
Mm-hmm.
and your Angular CLI. We'll see on the next. So now it's a time. It's your time. So if you have any question, then you can ask me.